On this episode of the Creative Dan Pod, we have Lauren Morgan. She is a business attorney. She is the owner of Activated Law. I remember when I first started my business, and I remember asking my dad how to set it up because he had a business, and he was able to walk me down the steps and process I needed to. But not everyone has the same experience. So today, Lauren is going to take us step by step how to set up your entity, how to protect your business, and how to make more money without doing something new.
Protecting your brand is very important because it gives you a uniqueness, it gives you a distinctness, and it gives you protection of your brand so no one else can come and steal it and devalue your actual brand. Right. You have legal gold in your business, and I'm going to show you how to protect that.
Let's give them actual steps, 3 to 5 steps, whatever that looks like, to actually formulate their entity into an LLC.
We start everything in the legal world with research, right? When people come to me and they're like, this is my situation, I have 1,000,001 more questions for them because I'm researching and trying to fully understand. And this is why, for me, I'm not just your average attorney, right?
Yeah.
I am an entrepreneur first. I started my first business at 16. So how I think is completely different. I'm thinking as an entrepreneur, not who has the benefit of being an attorney. So I am a strategist.
So one of the things you said was profit. You know, you like to help people make money in their brand, more money with their brand without doing something different. How do you go about that?
Yeah, so
thanks for being on the Creative Dan Pod. Thanks for, being here. Appreciate you. I've known you for a while, and I've seen your business from when you started it till now. And so just tell us about who you are, tell us what you do, and for the people that are listening, tell them why they should keep listening.
For sure. Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you why you should keep listening because we want to serve the people first. So you should keep listening because I'm going to help you understand how to protect your business and to make money off of your business without doing something new. It's always like burdensome and cumbersome, but what you're already doing today, you have legal gold in your business, and I'm going to show you how to protect that. Who am I to tell you that, though? My name is Lauren Morgan. I am a business attorney. I've had my own practice for 8 years now. I've been doing this for a very long time, internationally certified in business law. I have a lot of experience in doing this, literally multi-hundreds of businesses in doing this. I'm passionate about it. I love it. And it's required in this day and age to have multiple streams of income.
Right. It definitely is.
It is.
Especially with the way the economy is going.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what's the name of your business?
Activated Law.
Okay. And what do you specialize in?
We specialize in business law.
Business laws. Okay. What does that mean for us people that don't understand?
Yeah. So anything to do with your business, it could be court. I don't go to court. Okay. I specialize in pre-litigation. So specifically entity setup. So setting up your business, registering it, contracts, your intellectual property, such as trademarks and copyrights. I do not do patents, but we do have in-house counsel that we work with, counsel that we work with.
Nice.
For that, so yeah.
All right, we're going to get into the nitty and gritty of the business law. So let's start with, how important is it for someone to start like an LLC or C Corp, S Corp? When should they become a C Corp and S Corp? Should they start off as a sole proprietor before they move into an LLC? What does that look like?
No, I think that's really good. So I think sole proprietor is when you start off with your business and you don't have any other type of protections. You're solely responsible for anything that happens. If you get sued or mistakes happen. I think when you're starting to figure it out, a lot of people kind of haphazardly end up in businesses, honestly. Right. They're good at something. Right. They just enjoy it. People are like, oh, you should keep baking, or you should keep making these. This is good. They start selling it here and there. I say making an LLC when you get serious about it, right? Okay. If you're making more than $600 a year, technically you need to report it for taxes. Right. I'm not an accountant, but that's just the law. It's on its face. But when you see that it's profitable, you're trying to make investments into the business, I definitely recommend, the more you have to lose and the more that's on the line, getting a umbrella of protection, which is what the LLC registration, S Corp, corporation, those type of registrations give you a umbrella of protection.
Okay. And what's the difference between like a C Corp and an S Corp?
So that's a really, really great question. So C Corps are just corporations. That's the basic corporation form. S Corps are not actually a thing in every state.
Oh, interesting.
So it's actually a tax identification versus a entity identification, but it is in some states, right? So a lot of times people say, oh, you need to do an S corp, you can actually be an LLC and get taxed as an S corp because it is a tax identification, not a state one, right? So that's
Gotcha.
state and federal.
Okay.
The federal identification allows you to be taxed as that. You can just file the form to get elect to be filed as a S corp. So it depends on the state that you're in for that one, but the way you're taxed is the difference between an S corp and a C corp.
Okay.
Once again, these are more accounting questions.
Right,
I'm a business owner, though, and an
That is true.
entrepreneur. So this is not my field of expertise with the taxes, but as an entrepreneur, I know it. So I just want to give that disclaimer. Don't come with me to tax questions because I'm going to kindly defer you
for sure.
to my people. But
For sure.
C Corps are double taxed. So on the company level and on the individual level. And then C Corps actually allow you to pass it through to the LLC from an individual level. And then LLCs are just passed through to the individual. So
Okay.
S corp is a nice tax selection to have.
Yeah. All right. So we've talked about LLCs and stuff like this. But some people, there's this thing called a DBA, right? Doing business as this. I'll give you a quick story. When I started my company, it was originally called Rhythm Creative Lab.
I remember that.
Right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, this is 2016. I signed it up as LLC because my dad was already in business. So he literally just gave me the rundown of what to do, right? Create your entity, tax ID, go to the bank, set up your bank account, And I did all that, but there came a point where I'm like, this name no longer serves me, And for me, I could have done a DBA, but I decided to just start a new brand entirely. What would you, in that same situation, what would you advise people to do? It's a different type of, I decided, because I knew I was moving to a different type of content and videography than what I was used to. And I knew that I wanted this new name and business idea to be something bigger than just me and what I was doing at that point. So I just created a whole new thing. But for people that maybe they created a name, down the road they decided that's not the name they want to do, should I do a DBA or just start a whole new LLC?
Honestly, it's going to depend on the strategy. I don't believe in like custom strategies for everybody, right? I'll give you general definitions. I think for you, what it sounds like is that you had a bigger calling on you for something bigger, and the foundation of what you said is crucial, right?
Yeah.
You can't scale or build on something if your foundation is faulty. So for you, not that the foundation of that was faulty, it wasn't the proper foundation to go as big as you wanted to go, right?
That's true.
And that's the spiritual principle that I know. Yeah. So I feel like that's why you really needed to set up something different for you. Generally, I probably wouldn't advise it though. Because if you're trying to establish like business credit or things like that, the length of your business can actually work in your favor, right? So maybe in that situation, and it might have been more cumbersome actually, right? Let's look at changing the business name with the DBA, right? Doing business as, you still have the same entity. We don't change anything there. We just change the DBA so you can do business as. Or we just reorganize the company as a whole, right? Which can sometimes be a lot more work than just setting up a new business sometimes. But I know I've come across people and they have accounts, they have business accounts, and they can't lose those. So now we have to restructure the business, maybe come up with a DBA. It's a lot of different ways. Honestly, it's not a cookie cutter approach, but you had options.
Yeah, no, that's true, because when I did change my name, I was like, this is way bigger than what it was at the time, Rhythm Creative Lab came from the idea that, because I was filming dance, I was heavy into music back then, and it was just, rhythm was the thing. So eventually I rebranded into this name called Creative Collection, because I believe that we all are a collection of creativity. Like every one of us, we all have multiple ideas, especially for creatives. And if we believe that, we're made in the image of God, then we're all creatives.
For sure.
And so I went with this idea for that specific reason. And then from there, it has led me into the next thing that I'm doing, which is, I will say right now, we are going to launch a coaching program soon, which is for creatives that, number one, have no idea where to start, or they have all these ideas, they don't know which one to actually use and as a business idea. And so that's the route that we're going to help people is, this is your idea. And there's multiple ways to do that, right? I think you alluded to that a little bit earlier. Is like most people just fall into business.
Yes.
A lot of times it's like a passion thing, right? You have the passion for it, so therefore you create your business out of the passion. Or maybe there's a pain point that someone has gone through, and then they create a business out of that. Or maybe it's a skill from their job previously, and then they quit their job, or they start a business before they quit their job. That's probably the wise thing to do. And then eventually they do that. So yeah. Anything else about LLCs? Because I know that's the most popular ones that a lot of people use.
It's the most popular one. For most states, it's the most cost efficient, and it's the easiest to set up. So LLCs, if you're doing business and you are, the risk is is growing, you're spreading the word, you're out on social media, the more present you are, you need to have an LLC to protect yourself and make sure you're good.
Right. Okay. Cool. And then, so let's move on to that one person that, it was a passion thing in the beginning. Maybe let's take the baker, for example. And now you're really good at bakery. You want to go open up your own space, but you're still operating as a sole proprietor. Let's give them actual steps, 3 to 5 steps, whatever that looks like, to actually formulate their entity into an LLC.
Yeah, for sure. So first you want to research the name with the state entity that you're at. Each state has one. It depends on the state. It's either going to be the Secretary of State. That is actually the most common. In Arizona, there's the Corporate Commission Office. That's in a few states as well. But if you go to Google and you search, set up a business in this state, you're going to get a lot of spam pop-ups. So scroll through the ads and then go down and you're looking for a .gov. Every single one of them has a .gov because it is a government entity in which you are registering this your entity with, right? Your LLC. So you do that. You make sure it's available. You go through the application. Pay the fee. Okay. So that would be, I kind of get research. Step 1. Step 2 is to do the application. Step 3 is to get your EIN number. That is on irs.gov. You go to the search box on the top, put in EIN number. It comes up. It is free. Do not pay for EIN, you guys. It is free.
Let's pause there real quick, actually, because there is, the Taylor brands and, companies like that, right? That I don't know how much to charge, but they will get people and they'll take them from A to Z, basically. What do you think of companies like that?
I think there's a place for that. I mean, they're just paying for services. I charge to set up people's entity and things like that as well. I think you have to be careful. Do your own research. I think setting up entities, the states have made it very feasible to do so, but you really want to be educated in the process. Unfortunately, with places like Taylor Brands, LegalZoom, you're not working with an attorney. They cannot answer your questions. So if something happens and they reject it, unfortunately, or things like that, it kind of puts you in an awkward place. Okay. And I'll just throw this freebie out there. One of the common reasons people are getting denied on their entities now is because you're using a PO box or a address that is not actually a physical address. It's required in all states. A lot of them research it. Right. And so you can try it if you want to, but if it gets kicked back and they give you some code, the best, like if you are working with Taylor Brands or something like that, they just read to you what the code says. Right. They can't explain it to you or define it to you. And so it can be frustrating and you're in a pickle. And if you call the state offices, their representatives are the same. They'll tell you, I can't give you legal advice, and they can't. Right. So it's great until it's not. Yeah. And I get a lot of clients that come to me and they're like, hey, I tried to set up my stuff with LegalZoom or Taylor Brands, and I need more help and assistance. If you're doing an LLC, it's pretty streamlined, so I think you'll be okay with them. But when you get to other parts of legal strategies, I proceed with caution. All
right. We'll get back to the steps because now I have on the follow-up question. So there are, the virtual addresses. They're usually PO boxes, right? If you use that to set up your LLC, like you said, in some states, they could deny that. Most people don't want to put their home address, especially if they are doing business from within the house. How should I go about that?
Yeah, so it's a couple loopholes with that. So you can use virtual addresses. You just have to be strategic on how you use them. P.O. Box is on its face a P.O. Box because it literally is a P.O. That's the address. So a lot of times if you use a virtual address, even through UPS, they don't use P.O. Box, right? There's a street address.
This is true.
You can use things like iPostal. You can use things like a statutory agent. So like my firm, we have addresses in different states that we're registered in to help. And we use a virtual address that is a actual physical building that you can walk into, right? So that it's allowed, and they allow that. So if I am set up in the state that I'm setting up a client in, I will give them the option. Do you have a business address you want us to use? We also have an address that we can allow you to use as well. Yeah,
that's really cool. Okay, I use iPostal for mine. Actually, it works well.
I usually, if people, and I tell them you can get one on your own too. You don't have to use ours. I usually recommend iPostal.
Yeah,
that's a good
cool.
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool. I'm glad I chose them because there were a couple of them that I was looking through and I was like, okay, I'll go with this one.
And they're in every state too. So if you ever need to go to another state for a foreign entity, you just go in your account and get another address in that state. So there's a lot of flexibility with them. I like them a lot.
Yeah, nice. Okay. So we've said make sure the name is available. Register that name, EIN number. EIN, that's where we'll stop.
And the fourth step would be to set up your bank account.
Okay.
Because we need to get the money. That's the whole point. Setting up the business. You got to get paid. So the bank account will require your entity to be live. They'll usually go searching online and make sure it's live, and then they require your EIN number.
Okay. This might be a question for a tax question again. There's some intersection, right? In a sense.
A lot.
But for those that are using personal bank accounts versus business bank account, why should you switch?
That's actually a legal question.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
It's actually because you are commingling funds, right? So we all see it, right? Like it's when people get in trouble because they stole from the business account. That is the basis of that is this. Your personal funds have to be separated from your business funds. Okay. And when you actually set up your entity, you are agreeing to this. When you set up an entity, you're setting up a completely different person, right? The EIN number is the social security number for that person, right? So you just had a baby when you set up a business, right? Your baby is different from you.
It's literally a baby.
So when you go and you get credit in your baby's name off of your credit, because your credit's too bad and your baby's not even legal to get credit yet, it's illegal, right? Like when you put it in terms like that, it makes more sense. But people think, well, I'm the one who's putting the money into the business as well. True, but your baby is responsible for taxes as well too. You are as well, but if you're commingling those funds, more importantly, if an issue arises with a business, and you're using that business as a separate entity or person to separate yourself liability-wise so you don't get sued because you have your entity, if you're commingling funds, it's something that can happen called piercing the corporate veil.
Interesting. Okay.
Where because you didn't treat the baby like its own individual baby, you kept it like it was yours and you guys were one, they will pierce through the bank accounts and the records of the baby, the business, and they will come to you because you guys actually weren't separate. You behaved as one.
Gotcha.
And so you will actually still be liable. So that's a legal thing. And we don't want to do that. Just keep them separate.
Okay. That's good. Now, follow-up question on that. Hopefully this is still a legal question. There's a lot of people that have recently switched from paying people like contractors and all those people straight from Zelle. I used to use Zelle. I've switched, because I have QuickBooks as my, to help keep my records, right? And so now I've switched to using QuickBooks payroll to pay contractors. Now for people that use Zelle and all that things, cash, whatever, Venmo, Cash App to pay their contractors and people like that, how important is it to just go with a payroll system?
That's a little bit of a accounting question. But I'll say I work with an accounting closely with it, and we still pay some of our people via Zelle.
Okay.
And the reason for that, you just need to make sure it's accounted for. Like you're invoicing them properly, you have a record for it. So for instance, my business account doesn't do Zelle. So I have to send it from a personal account sometimes, right? And so what we do for that is we take the funds from a business account. We make sure it's accounted for there. It's more burdensome to do it. But to be on the up and up to make sure it's handled right, that's how you have to do it. So, but my accountant knows that. So when she sees Zelles and she knows my contractor's name, she knows how to allocate that and make sure everything is good and code it properly for it. So you just have to communicate with the person who's handling your books and keeping it. And so I meet with her once a month. We go through everything. If she sees something in between and she's reconciling, she will shoot me a text message and be like, who is this? What is right? Or she'll text me and be like, we need to meet. And I'm like, oh, Lord. So she is on it and she make sure that we stay on top of it and that it's out. So it's not that you can't do it. You just have to make sure that your records are there. And if it's not coming directly from the account, it is more steps. Okay. Right. But I pay for an accountant to handle steps for me. So I'm like,
Yeah.
Let me
And
just be free and
and
do
I
what I
think
need to
the
do.
reason people say don't do that is because some people don't keep good accounts or good
Yes.
records, us, and so it's good to like just set it up the right, I won't even say the right way. Just set it up through something that's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Where you could just go in there, have all the W-9s in there, contractors in there, just pay them directly rather than having to try to keep records of something that you're most likely going to forget.
For sure. And it's a lot of technicalities to that. So even with ownership draw, which is something you can do in an LLC where you just pull from the business account and things like that, that's fine, right? So commingling can actually, you technically are commingling, but because you have to go through the proper steps, it keeps them separate, right? So you don't just pay for the business account, your personal stuff, but you actually withdraw from the business account first, put it in your business account, and then pay it. It's not commingling, right? Just add in a few steps. It's not commingling, but the accounting still has to be there, and you have to document it as an owner's draw, which is your pay as an owner, which is not the same as a corporation. You can't do owner's draw on a corporation. It has to, you have to actually take a wage with corporations. So it's a lot of nuances. So if you are starting off as a business, I definitely recommend consulting with an accountant, actually, not even a lawyer, an accountant when you start up, because how you pay yourself and how you do that is actually very important.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really good. I like that. All right. So now this next phase of questions is purely selfish.
I love it. It's your podcast. You got to get something too, right?
Right. All right. So I've been, thinking about the whole trademark. I've looked at the website. It is a nightmare of a website. I am someone that prides myself in knowing how to do things typically. Now that is something that I was just like, I'm not even going to touch this because there's a lot of
convoluted density.
And I'm sure they did that on purpose. I don't know.
They don't.
I don't know.
I think the trademark office is actually very, very good and intentional. They try to be very consumer friendly.
Really?
They really do try. They have videos for people to use. They put a lot of stuff on there to be user friendly. It's just a lot of information to navigate, and it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And their videos aren't as clear as I think they are, and so they can actually be more confusing than they aren't. But they actually do try. They try a lot, and they really do try to simplify the process. It's just I don't think it can be simple. It's just a lot. It's a lot.
All right, so trademarking. This is where we're talking about protecting your business in this sense. Let's talk about that. Why should someone trademark? When should they trademark? And then how, the process.
So that's we're gonna break that up into all three questions because each of that is a mouthful, and I want to make sure people are grasping each of them, right? So why? You should definitely trademark because it's your brand, right? So I actually got my makeup done for the podcast today, because this is evergreen content. We out here forever. And I was talking to the makeup artist, and I asked her, I said, by the way, I don't even remember this, but does Sephora still do, you should be able to buy a certain amount of products and they would do your makeup for free. I was like, do they still do that? She's like, no, they stopped it after COVID. And I was like, wow, that's really interesting. I wonder if they considered the reputation with their brand for that, because she told me so many people still come in and ask for that. And it's been years since COVID, right? But because that was associated with their brand, that is why you protect stuff, and that's why you trademark it. You're building a brand if you know it or not, right? So when you put a logo out there, a slogan out there, your colors, that's what people psychologically start to associate you with, even though you never say, hey, Activated Law's colors are gold, white, and black, right? But people know that's a brand color, right? So even when you go through a rebrand, you go through a lot of promotion behind it because you have to do a big push to help people understand it's rebranded now, right? So that's why you want to protect it, because if you spend all of this time is the biggest thing, the biggest component. You've been in business 8 years, right? When you did a rebrand, that's a lot of time with people understanding your business. And I love that creative is still a part of it, right? Because that is a part of your brand. That's something that can travel and go with you. But people don't have any idea how much business you lose with a misassociation with a brand, right? So protecting your brand is very important because it gives you a uniqueness, it gives you a distinctness, and it gives you protection of your brand so no one else can come and steal it and devalue your actual brand. Right? And what's your brand, right? Logos, business names, a unique service name, right? If you come up with a masterclass, but you have a unique catching name for it, that's actually a trade.
I would even take it deeper that But beyond the online space, your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that goes more to marketing a little bit. And it's not really a way to protect that, though. Right? What people say about your brand or things like that behind closed doors is definitely important, but I don't have a way of protecting that and enforcing that, right? Like a trademark.
Right.
Unless they're speaking like, oh, I love the logo. This is so great. We're going to take the logo, right?
Yeah. Oh, from a trademark perspective, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, but I think like overall, like internally, like the feeling that you have that people associate, you know, is that obviously you can't protect feelings, but
For sure.
like, but that feeling and that sentiment to a brand and what they say based on that feeling is your brand, you know?
To that point, you want your brand to create a feeling for people, right? Like when you get to the deep nuances and you work with like marketing agencies and they research your brand, you're cultivating an experience that you want your person to feel. Like Apple.
Yeah.
How many of us still got our boxes in our, because Apple has created an experience, which by the way, you can trademark a box, right? It's called trade dressing. But that experience is what they've created. The psychological effect we want people to have when they get the box, when they see the thing, when they open it, when they rip the plastic off and they, you know, it's finally wrapped around it. That they thought about every single minute detail, right? And they can trademark a lot of that. Like the logo is trademarked, right? The phone and all that's patent, but the actual boxing that Apple comes in is a trademark. It could be a trade dressing, right? So it's anything that you want people to feel and experience with you around branding. And when they think of it, they see it. That is your brand.
That's your brand.
That is something you can protect. So let me even ask you this. There's a jewelry company that has a particular, this is my favorite one. I always use it. The color. When women see that color, it does something to them, right? It speaks elegance and luxury, and they want that. They know the cost and investment associated with that. Even their cheapest thing in the store costs a few $100s, right? And so that is a trademark color, right? They know the impact when you get it. You just see the box. You don't even see what's inside the box. People just be like excited because they get the Tiffany blue box, right? That's an experience. It's a part of their brand, right? So who cares? I don't even care what's coming out of this box when I open it. It could be a pendant from the store, right? But it's from Tiffany's. Okay, it's a brand. It's a part of what they've built.
Okay, that's
Absolutely.
cool. So that's your why.
That's the
Protect it, and then the when. You know, when should people actually trademark?
That's a tricky one too. And I try not to do like a one-off fix because it's everybody's business. Everybody's baby is different, right? So when you have a brand, it's a fine balance. The general basic, like the law thing is when you start using it, right? When it's in commerce, you want to protect it. That can be tricky for a new business owner though, right? You don't really have the profit and the money to trademark. It's not the cheapest process. So I always tell people when it's working, you are partial to it and it's making you money. One of the first investments needs to be a trademark because you want to protect that. Because if you like it and it's making money, somebody else sees that, and they might try to come in and try to take that. So
but then aren't you protected because you're the first one to use it?
That's a good one. So there are some common law protections around that potentially, but what's the fear of losing your brand? It's not just the fact that I might lose my brand. It's the fight I got to go through to protect my brand and keep my brand. You might it might be yours, but you might lose it just because of the fight. Right? Those things take years. Beyonce just got out of a 10-year plus battle for Blue Ivy.
Golly.
Right? That they take time. And it could be very cumbersome. And our mission pillars at the company are peace, profit, and protection. Right? So that peace of mind. It's a big factor when you don't got peace of mind, right? And that's one of the things. If you aren't proactive in protecting, you're reactive in protecting it. You're gonna compromise your peace of mind. So
all right, we'll get to the profits soon. But so that's the when. Just do it as soon as you can. As soon as you have the money, you know you're making money. You have the money to put towards it. Go ahead and do it. The step-by-step process. I know that's more of something that you take care of, but if it's rejected, if it's approved, you know, stuff like that, how does it pan out?
Yeah, so it's a process before it gets rejected. So essentially, it gets assigned to an examining attorney once you file it. Well, not at the time you file it. It actually waits whatever the wait period is, which can be a little while. Be patient with it. It's assigned to an examining attorney. They review it, and then they will respond with either approval or an office action.
Okay.
You have to respond to the office action, and you pretty much just clarify whatever they need to be clarified, make any arguments with them, and then sometimes you go back and forth with them a little while. Eventually, they will issue what is called a final office action.
Okay.
In a final office action, you have the right to reserve appeal. You have to pay the application fee for that at the time you are responding to the final office action. So even if they approve it, you still got to have it reserved, even if you don't need it, and you don't get that fee refunded, right?
Interesting.
So you reserve that. Ultimately, if the attorney comes back and says no, you then go to the appeals office and make your case before them on why the examining attorney made a mistake and why you should have your application accepted. At that level, that's the final step. If it's not approved, you just... And it's different reasons for that. You might want to wait a little while, go back, and it might have been a timing thing.
Yeah.
It just depends, or it might just be like, you're not going to get this approved because somebody else has it, right? It's just not going to work.
Did I tell you that that's the reason it was rejected? Because someone else? Okay.
Yep, it's something called 2D, which is the likeliness of confusion.
Gotcha. And that's how they phrase it.
That's and that's why I said they try to make it friendly. They have videos on likeliness of confusion,
right?
But
what does that mean?
When you get that letter from the office action from the examining attorney, they're not breaking that down for you, and they're not on your team. They work for the USPTO office, right? They're not you, so you get a letter of legalese, and it's like, go figure it out and respond within the time frame. To respond.
So at that point, if it's rejected, you just have to either, as long as you don't get a cease and desist, is you keep operating at that, or would you advise just start a new name and actually go through the process of being trademarked before you get bigger?
So can I talk about the process real quick? Because I think the answer is in that. The first part of the process is research.
Yeah.
That's we start everything in the legal world with research, right? When people come to me and they're like, this is my situation, I have 1,000,001 more questions for them because I'm researching and trying to fully understand. So when you research that trademark application, you, as a good attorney, I know the likeliness of that getting approved or not getting approved before we submit the application. Because at that point, I'm costing my clients money. Right. And so there might be some ones that we're, kind of pushing up against, but my client knows that. And we have a strategy and a plan that we think we can be successful in getting it approved even still. And there's some loopholes in there even if you are likelihood to confuse with another business. It's some ways you can get around that. But one of the ways that I work with my clients on the front end as well is that when we do that research phase, if there is something that comes up that's a red flag, not only do they know about it, but I also give them an opportunity. I'm like, this is not going to be successful, right? Like if your brand isn't unique, it's something that they can come back with a 2E, which is too generic. On its face. So generic. Your brand is generic.
Interesting.
It can't be trademarked because it's generic, right? I'll never get past a generic mark, right? Well, there are some ways to get past generic mark, but I usually am very transparent with that with my clients. Not usually, I am. And we come up with a path of this is how we need to get this through, or you need to come up with another name. Okay. That's just it.
So start with research first, and then from same with building your entity, right? Start research first.
Everything you got to research it first. You need to know what you're getting into and going, especially in the legal. Legal's too costly to not know a clear path of what you're dealing with, right?
And it takes a while to actually get that trademark.
Exactly. So you need to know what the process is, what you're up against, and how to navigate that.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So one of the things you said was profit. You like to help people make money in their brand, more money with their brand without doing something different, in a sense. How do you go about that?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to entity. When you create and set up that entity, once you start making six figures, you need to be leveraging other entities, right? So what I'm saying is not rocket science. It's not anything new. It's just my study of it and me reframing it to find out how to bring value to business owners in a way that they don't typically think, right? Okay. So I study rich people and how they make business moves and how they do what they do. And there's not a millionaire, billionaire on this planet that doesn't have a nonprofit. and how they're leveraging it, which is a different type of entity, right?
Okay.
So once you are making six figures and your tax bracket increases and you're paying more money, you need to be leveraging the games that they're leveraging, and one of which is a nonprofit. And then it scales to that. It's levels to that. It's a nonprofit, then it's a trust, right? Then it's multiple trusts. It's levels to it.
Levels.
But the first of which for six-figure earners is a nonprofit.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yep.
One of the next persons I actually have coming on the pod is going to be talking about nonprofits and how to put that together. Well, from your legal perspective, how do you go about putting together a nonprofit?
Yeah, it's similar as an entity. So everything we talked about for an entity, a nonprofit, for it to actually qualify from the tax exemption status, has to have another component. So the setup we first talked about is on the state level.
Okay.
The EIN number is on a federal level, but for a nonprofit, you actually have to do an application, a 1023, for the tax exempt status.
Okay.
Right. So that's the full setup of a nonprofit.
Okay. Okay. And now for the business owner themselves that are setting up the nonprofit, they need to have some type of idea for a nonprofit and actually doing something that is, whether they're not necessarily profiting from, in a sense. Obviously, that's a whole.
See, and you should profit. You make profit.
I mean,
so this is what a lot of people don't know. They're like, what should I do for my nonprofit? Like, well, what are you passionate about? Usually they're passionate about what they're already doing in their for-profit.
Right.
Okay, great. Everybody can't afford your services in your for-profit. And we all know this because at some point we've all discounted our services or done something. For
sure.
So create your nonprofit and serve the same people. Do the same thing in your nonprofit. So for me, I have a nonprofit, right? The Legal No. Okay. And the Legal No is a community-based program where I work with business owners who are startups and solopreneurs who can't afford legal counsel themselves just to pay for me to do it, get it done, right? So I provide them the same resources that I would here, right? Do a monthly call with them, and I give them contract templates. I give them, explanation videos. I give them trademark courses and videos on how to walk through and how to do everything and set it up, right? But then you still get access to me in a community to come and answer your questions at large with that, right?
That is so smart.
And it's a fraction of the cost.
Yeah.
So your nonprofit can mirror what you're doing, right? And it's an educational platform. I'm not your lawyer there. I'm an educational platform, which qualifies it to be a nonprofit.
That's really cool because most people probably have always seen nonprofit as you have to just go do something different. It could be in line with what you're doing, but entirely different.
Yeah. And sometimes people have causes that sometimes I know there are businesses where they help single moms come up with a business. A nonprofit leg of that could be where you are actually providing housing and different community events or resources for that mom to get the funding or whatever she needs for her business, right? It literally, most of the time, should complement.
Right.
But because of what we've been taught about nonprofits, we don't think about it the right way. Right. And so
this just blew my brain.
And this is why, for me, I'm not just your average attorney, right?
Yeah.
I am an entrepreneur first. I started my first business at 16. So how I think is completely different. I'm thinking as an entrepreneur, not who has the benefit of being an attorney. So I am a strategist. I don't just look at the law and be like, no, you can't do that.
Right.
I look at the law and I figure, there's always a way, right? Like, even if it's like, we just need to wait. We need to cut some red tape here, go do this. And that's my job to figure out how we can make stuff happen, right? Okay. Legally, right? Yeah. And so that's how I position, and I think that's what sets me apart as an attorney with my clients, is really being able to leverage the legal strategies that I know as an entrepreneur. So I'm really a thought partner. I'm not just an attorney, right? Like, I'm coming in and thinking of how we can leverage all of this and position you, legal or otherwise, as a business. Yeah. But we need to make sure we do it the legal way. Yeah, so you get the whole shebang when people partner with me.
That's really cool because now okay. I'm thinking now because I got ideas, in my head of the things that I've wanted to do. So a lot of times people, my business is to help people with high quality videos, right? But on the other hand, something I've been doing for about 6-7 years as well is as a strategist. In today's age, we'll call it a content strategy, and that is where I want to go, and just ideas come into my mind at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, at random times, right? And so figuring out this wave of a nonprofit and actually My mind has been blown.
I'll
It's a good thing, though.
I know, and I'm gonna give you a freebie with that because
Yeah,
I mean it's
go
your
for it.
podcast. It's
Go
us.
for it.
I'm here
Let's
to serve
do it.
you.
Let's do it.
You should set up your master classes and your classes how you want to do it. That should be a nonprofit.
That's literally what I was just thinking right now.
That should be a nonprofit. Okay. Absolutely.
Okay. We gotta talk after this. Oh, let's do it right now.
I got you.
Might as well. So, okay.
Let's do it.
I've had 2 ideas for this masterclass, and I've switched it up in different ways. The first one was to just help entrepreneurs and help them with the content themselves, like how to do the content, how to set up your lights, mics, phones, if you don't have a camera, how to use your phone to create content, edit, put it up, confidence to do it, right? So that was one idea. The second idea is the thing that I feel like wholeheartedly, this is what I'm supposed to do, is to help creatives. Okay, speaking from a spiritual perspective, is to help creatives turn their creativity back to God and give it back to Him. And that's the whole idea. So obviously, it would be newer creative entrepreneurs, people that either do not have their entity set up or maybe they're still operating as a sole proprietor, right? So therefore, it's maybe people that don't necessarily have the funds, So, and I've been thinking about this heavy, and now you just gave me the way to actually make this connect properly. So that's one aspect of it. But within that aspect of helping creatives, is still teaching them as well how to create content. Like, even though you're creative doesn't mean you know how to create content. There's different parts of creativity, right? And there's different types of creative ability and different types of creative personalities and how people create. And so taking that idea and then helping them eventually pass them on to like someone that helps them with their entity, like you, and then they create their entity from there. Because I'm not stepping into the legal field. I'm just
For sure.
trying to tell people just go do the thing and, do it. So
No, I love that. And so one really cool thing about me, because I am a kingdom girl, how God really works with me and says, so it's so many elements and likes to it. But even as you start talking, one of the things that he started doing is he gives me a blueprint, right? So as you start talking about your passion and what you want to do, he literally shows me what that looks like.
I love that.
Right. And so I hit a really big smile when you were talking because he started doing that while we were doing that.
That's cool.
And so you're literally these people's coach.
Yeah.
Right. And I love that you work with people who are just starting off, who don't know how to hone their gifts, because all of us are creatives. We're made in his image. He is the creator. Right. So when we start in that creative space, in that process of rededicating that to God, sometimes that process when we're honing in, especially creatives, they have a hard time honing in on the one thing that they want to do. They're like, I want to do a lot of different things, right? But you help them learn how to steward that, right? But specifically, if you want to position them, if they haven't set up their business or their entity yet, you got to show them how to make money off of it. And people, we steer away from this as kingdom people, and we shouldn't.
Right.
Because the kingdom of God is prosperous,
right?
The kingdom of God is abundance, right? And we need to make money for the kingdom so that we can take care of the kingdom.
Totally.
Right? And so that is a component of what you're going to help these people do. You're going to help them make money with it. And I see you having a challenge with them, right? And so within the first 3 months of them being in there, you have a rigid program in place where you're going to take them from zero profit, no entity set up, to making money and having profit. So now that you can go out and be a good steward of this and protect this and have this the right way, right? But that's when you were talking about that, I was like, oh, immediately, you're going to help these people make money off of it. That's how you give it back to them for the kingdom.
That's literally my headline: unlock your creative potential and build a profitable brand.
Listen here.
That's the headline for the landing page.
And when I tell you, Akin, this is how it works. Like when I talk to people and it just happens. I get a download and I just tell them and they're like, oh my God, I know that. That's what I want to do. And I'm like, it's not me. It's totally God. But allow me to confirm it for you, be the vessel that he uses for that. Yeah. But absolutely, that's your nonprofit. Okay. That's how you're going to set that up. And you are going to help them give it back to God, their creativity, by being good stewards of it, by creating profit and money and having the proper setup and the entities. I would love to come in and give them a masterclass on how to set it up and do it, right?
That would be great.
I can do that through the legal note. Not a problem, right? But yeah, that's it. But I see it, you staying with them longer than that 3 months, right? You help them get a profit in 3 months, right?
Right.
Which sounds crazy, but the
Which
Lord is going
is
to
doable.
download that to you.
Like,
It's very doable. It's very doable.
And that's not like, this is experience. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like, oh, I'm just talking. It's like every year in my business, I've made a profit, a
Yeah.
bigger profit each year. The first year, even from the first year that I started, there was a profit there. And that's why I'm like, there's a blueprint, to do
For
this,
sure.
to take all your ideas, jumbled as they are, and create something, a pathway to
Yeah.
lead, for you to be profitable. This guy, for example, is my guy, Matt, I literally showed him how to create your entity and do all that.
Yeah.
He has made a profit in the first year, right? Of setting up your entity, and that's just something that I was like, you know what, let me try it with people that are around me now.
Yeah.
And just giving them, again, this is not legal advice, but it is something, experience that I've gone through to be able
Yeah.
to walk with other people. So
No, that's powerful.
that's cool.
We
I like
we
that.
overcome by the word of our testimony.
Yes,
And we got to
we
share our
do.
testimony and give it
Yes.
out to other people. And it's
Definitely.
for that.
Definitely. It
So,
is.
I
I
love
love
that.
that. That is good. Whew. Non-profit. I've never thought about this in this sense. I've always had a non-profit idea, but I always thought it was something different, And the idea was for creative dads.
Yeah.
It was just more for dads, but now you've opened up the scope of what it truly could be. So
Yeah.
I appreciate
And you can
that.
still have a component of that, right?
Yeah.
Like you have, hey, one night a month, all creative dads, we
Mm-hmm.
come together, we host this event, and it's just an outlet for creative dads to come and talk and vent or express yourself.
Right.
Put your creativity out, right?
Yeah.
Don't limit it. Whatever I believe, if you, especially because I know you're God fearing,
Mm-hmm.
if you have it in your heart, that's because He gave it's
Yeah.
He gave it to you. It's
Yeah.
your heart's desires, right? He'll give you your heart's desires, and I think that it's something that you just go back to Him, give it to Him, and ask Him where does that fit into this? What does it look like with
That's
it?
cool.
But yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Make that a part of it.
Yeah. How long do you walk with your legal nose? Legal no.
Yeah, so we
How
have
do
a
you
couple
work with
different programs.
Yeah.
It's a 3, 6, or 4 year program. So
Okay.
people have options on how long they can get in.
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's awesome. I love that. This has been a great conversation. Is there, before I dive into this deeper questions, I don't know have you watched In the Deep with Lecrae?
No,
Okay.
I thought it was the album. Oh wait, what is it?
He
Is
has a
this podcast?
It's podcast.
Okay, so I haven't fully seen it like that. I saw one episode actually,
Okay.
and it was of him sharing and talking with Tim Ross.
Oh yeah, that was a dope one.
I saw that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it has a segment in there where it's like they even go deeper. And it's like sink or swim type questions.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
So we're gonna go into this. It's not that crazy, but let's talk about AI.
Yeah.
Okay. I use AI. We've actually, the whole world has used AI for many years until it became ChatGPT for people to realize that was AI. ChatGPT, creating things for people as like an assistant in a sense, even to your industry, in the legal industry. How do you see changing your industry? How do you see people actually using it legally in their business without having some kind of copyright infringement on them? Yeah, let's talk about it.
That's a big one. And this is becoming like a big thing for me. I spoke on this at the Small Business Development Center National Conference in September.
Nice.
On AI and affecting the industry. I'm speaking on it next week in Alaska at their SBDC locally.
Alaska.
I'm excited. My first time.
Nice.
And I got a question about this from a prospect that's literally today about AI and how to use it or things like that. And it's so important. So I love this question. Essentially, use AI. Don't shy away from it, right? A lot of people say, oh, it's going to take my job. It's this. No, it's to make you more efficient. It's to make you better.
Yeah.
Learn it, partner with it, learn the nuances of it. And so from a legal perspective, be careful with ChatGPT. Use it. I use it, but I have software that one lets me know if AI is detectable.
Okay.
Then I have software that goes through and it actually will reframe it, right? For me to give me, and I use it because it makes me more efficient and effective, right? Like I don't have time to do everything. Even my team, I tell my team to use it.
Yeah.
Like, but do not ever don't you ever copy and paste and send anything from ChatGPT, period. Like there's a process that we have in place that we make sure everything's on the up and tight with that. But you have to be very, very careful with copyright in ChatGPT because ChatGPT is open form. Like they tell you, they just pull from anywhere, right? And that's how they trained it.
Right.
there's actually a lawsuit from New York Times against ChatGPT saying that they're copywriting material from New York Times.
Interesting.
ChatGPT was trained off of it without permission.
Gotcha.
Right? So it is very, you have to just tread very lightly. Also, they tell you that ChatGPT is not real-time information. It's not up to date, right? It's like a year or two behind.
Yeah.
So laws change all the time.
Right.
All the time, right? Like last year, it was a huge push, and it's on the hold now. Our non-compete's going to be a thing, right? So if you're going to ChatGPT still and pulling stuff from it, ChatGPT might not actually be up to date. It might be giving you illegal information, right?
Interesting.
And so you just have to tread lightly with it. There's definitely a place from it. I use in my business. I tell people to partner with it. I'm never going to say, oh, don't use ChatGPT, but come talk with me once again, because I'm an entrepreneur first, right? So I think a little rebellious. I'm not the attorney that's no.
Yeah.
Let's talk and have a conversation so you can properly implement ChatGPT in your business and use it.
Gotcha.
Right? Like, don't shy away from it. Use it the right way.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. Actually, I have an AI idea. I'm not going to talk about it right now.
Don't talk about it. Do not disclose that information live and in public on the air from legal counsel.
No, that's cool. Okay, next question is content creation. You've started to post more on your Instagram and your platforms. How's that been going for you? You know, what do you think about creating content? What do you think about the process of it? You know, how has that helped your business in any way? You know, yeah.
So it's a growing effort. I love creating content because I love to talk, and I really just have a heart to help people and to share. Okay. And so as long as I'm talking about it and sharing and don't have to lift up my fingers and work and do things, I'm here to educate the people all day, right?
Nice.
For free. That's my heart. Content is not my lane though, right? Like editing it, the eye that you guys have for going through this podcast and pulling out the clips that are really, that's not me.
Yeah.
That's not my lane of creativity. That has been cumbersome for me, right? So I just recently had to fire someone from our team who was over my content.
Gotcha.
And so that has been a little, so I'm trying to find someone now to like help with the editing because I have all of this content sitting, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know how to repurpose it. I don't have a strategy for it.
Gotcha.
So that for me, that's just not my lane. And I have no problem saying that, right? Like legal all day, I got you. And what I'm good at, I got you. What I'm not, I don't know. And I will be the first to tell you. And I need help. I want help with that, right? So,
well, here at Creative Collection, we could help you.
Absolutely. I was like, hey, I got to talk to you about like the editing component. I have an amazing content capturer. I don't even know what I would call her, but she's really good. And for me, my audience is females and things like that. So I love her because she has an eye for capturing that. So she does like videography and pictures. And so I just bulk create with her. Yeah. And then she gives it to me, and then it's just like, okay,
just sitting there.
What do I do with it? Yeah. Right? But she's phenomenal. She's great. And I there's been an increase in my content feedback, just engagement from that. So I know the quality is now there from her versus it's nothing wrong with doing it on your phone, but I know who my target audience is. Right. They need to know that I'm investing in myself and my business for them to invest in me. Yeah. Camera, phone action, here and there, cool. But all the time, that's not going to get it, right? Yeah. And so I love that investment. But I now need a back-end strategy of what to do with the content when I have it, right? Like how to align it with my masterclasses that I host or, repurposing it even. I know I need to get on LinkedIn. You good with LinkedIn?
I've been trying on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn different.
Yeah, it's a little different. Like different. I tried it and I was like, all right, I'm out. Then I'm back now. I scheduled like 2 weeks worth of content like a week ago. Yeah. So this is the second week, just trying things out and like, figure out what it looks like.
So I need help with that stuff, right? Like even planning it and scheduling it out. So we definitely will have conversations about that.
For sure. Let's do it. That's my lane.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, hey.
I've known this for a minute.
Yeah, we've been out of touch, but when we got for the podcast, I was like, oh, this is great because we can have a conversation about that for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, and it's crazy because and that's why I started this podcast. Right, is I've been doing this for other businesses for years. I never thought about myself, until a year ago, and then I was like, all right, let's put myself out there a little bit and. More than just creating content, it has actually helped me with my business.
I love that.
And that's why I tell people to create content because it's not just about content creation. It's actually personal development as well, because it's going to develop you with your ideas, with the things that you actually believe, the things that you want to say, and what you want to put out, and what you want people to actually know you as, again, as your brand, right?
No.
This is where it comes from, is actually creating content. Like, yes, you could, write it down and put it down without anyone seeing it, but the accountability purpose of it is, once you say something, hey, I'm going to host this masterclass, and then 3 months later you haven't done it. Now, what people look at your brand as is, oh, you just say things, but you don't do it. You don't follow through. But the follow through aspect of it, from creating content, it's key.
It is, and that's why I have to be consistent with it. But I love that that accountability. Everything you said, my coach says that, right? We have something called like the 5 non-negotiables daily, and one of them is content. You have to push content, but he talks about it from a mental aspect and making sure that you're able to look at a camera and talk to the camera and relate to the audience and connect with them, right? Talk about your day. Don't just always talk about business stuff either, right? Share. Right. Hey, I'm walking today, but show your things that you are consistent within your daily habits. So I love that. And you're the content creator, right? So he's giving me the push to do more content creating. So it's like, okay, cool. But to hear that from a content creator is actually,
that's good.
It seals the deal.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the easier it becomes, the better it becomes. And the more you understand your audience as well and what they're looking for. And I want to debunk this situation with social media. I always loved and hated social media until this past year, looking at it as more as a tool than just something to scroll through. It doesn't matter how much views you get or how much followers you have. To a point, maybe it does, but at the same time, it doesn't. Just put it out there. If you get 1 like, you get 2 likes, at least you help 2 people.
Right.
That is a lot of people.
No,
if you get 500 views, imagine having 500 people in your house. That's how I view it, and there's always this idea of people that want to go viral. It's like, okay, you go viral, and then what? What do you do with the virality? What do you do with the people that come? You don't have a funnel for them to go through. You don't know how to capture them. You have none of that set up in place, but you're wondering,
No, seriously.
Again, this is my old spiel of social media, and he knows this as like, it's like, just create. Just be the person that God created you to be, and just do that, and just come from that flow of abundance. Everything else is going to follow. Like, it might not be an outward reward, but it's going to start internal.
For sure.
And then it's going to come out in some kind of way. So that's what I say.
No, that's really good.
All right. Is there anything else that we haven't covered? Anything else that you would like to speak on that we haven't touched yet?
Yeah. So we kind of touched on profit, and I don't know if you had another question for it, but I just at least I wanted to give your audience a freebie around about monetization and how to make profit off of your brand, right? So if you have more questions about that, I have a free monetization like tip sheet, some ideas for you that can help you have an idea of what to get started with what you have today. If you follow me on IG at Activated Law and just DM me creatives, I will send you the Google Doc for it, and you don't have to send me an email or anything like that, but it will let you know what it is that you could start making profit off of in your business already.
So
if you got it.
DM
creative
and
to
then
Activated Law.
To Activated Law. And I'll put that in the description as well. And whenever we post this up for people to be able to do that. So appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Actually, there's one thing we haven't talked about, contracts.
Yeah.
So do all businesses need contracts?
Yes.
Okay. What type of contracts? Are they like specific buckets of contracts, or is it specific to the business itself?
It is specific to the business, but there's a bucket. So I do like the starter 5 when people work with us. And even if you're product-based, you have contracts, they just look different, right? So if you're product-based, I want to start with them because it's actually the easiest. You're going to have your terms of service and privacy policy and put a lot of details in there, which is going to be your contracts, right? If you're service-based, though, I always recommend that your starting 5 contracts are your operating agreement, which is required for your LLC once you set that up, that you have your service agreement. This is how you get paid and what you have in place for your services, that you have your NDA, non-disclosure agreement, because as you're working with contractors or other business partners, your business secrets are important in your processes, so you need to make sure you're protecting that. That's probably the backbone of your business a lot of times. You want to have your IC agreement in place because that's what we have when we work with our contractors. so on and so forth. And then the last but not least is your website terms of service and privacy policies, which is what I said that the private product-based ones need to have. So all of those, you switch out the terms, the service agreement, and you just have the terms of service and privacy policy for products-based. They'll have the rest of them. But for service-based businesses, you need to have all five of those. Yep.
That is cool. Well, thanks for breaking that down for us.
Absolutely.
Actually, leave us with a quick tidbit. 1 minute, 30 seconds. What the last thing that you want people to remember out of this conversation? Fire through. That's your camera right there. If you want to look directly at them.
I know, that's good.
Speak to their souls.
So just like we worked with Akin today to identify the legal code in his business, you have legal code in your business as well. And I want you to go find the legal code. It's there. Your creativity, your actions that you have in your business, use that to make a profit, protect it, and profit off of what it is. And I just want to use this as an encouragement. That idea that you've been having, you woke up out of your sleep with, that is it. That's God giving you a nudge. Go forth and do great things with it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And like we always say, you were created to create something, so go create it.